Welcome to the podcast, where we introduce you to incredible humans who share their journeys with the mission to inspire you to harness your own inner tenacity to drive your life and career forward. And now, your host, Adam Posner.
So depending on the order where we kind of you get it? Where we shuffle these podcasts when we put them out there into the universe. Either way, this is the last episode that we're recording. It is day 3 of Transform. It's been a gauntlet. But Kyle and I actually met at the poker table the other night, and that was kind of a cool way to get to know each other.
Yeah.
You know, I was playing my
new
poker
and
hand next to you.
Yeah.
Maybe I told you I didn't know how to play a little bit. Maybe I was bluffing a little bit, but it was a pleasure to connect. And that's really what these events are all about, right?
Yep.
Like actually getting to hang out and know people as a human.
Yeah.
Right? This isn't just Kyle Forrest over at Deloitte over here. But let's do this for the folks that have not played poker with you. Tell us who you are and what you do best.
Yeah, absolutely. Everyone, thrilled to be here. And it was thrilled to get to meet you the other night. So Kyle Forrest, there's a couple of hats that I wear. One is as the client service to many large organizations on the West Coast. The second is I'm actually the future of HR leader for Deloitte. So I really spent a lot of time digging in with CHROs and business leaders to think about what does the future of the function look like, not only for the function itself, but for the enterprise at large. Because really, what are organizations trying to do? They're trying to drive business outcomes and human outcomes at the same time, which is something that we explored in our 2024 Human Capital Trends Report, and which we're really excited to dig into with our 2025 Global Human Capital Trends Report.
I have, I won't call it a problem, but I have this kind of, we're lumping everything people under HR when really it's talent, recruiting, HR, human resources, benefits over here. Do you roll talent into HR?
So I sit down with a lot of CHROs who have been talking about the evolution of the function at large, right? And what they always emphasize is you need to ground in basics. What is your business strategy? What is the talent strategy you need to enable that? And where certain things sit from a work activity perspective are going to vary by organization. But if you've started with your business strategy and your talent strategy, then you're very clear. How do the functions, inclusive of HR, enable that? Now, you look at the evolution of the function, and what that function knows really well is the external talent market and the internal talent market. And if you bring that powerful set of data together in a way that can be done in very different ways today than it could even 5 or 10 years ago, there's tremendous insights that you can equip the business with to drive powerful outcomes.
Wow. There's a lot to unpack in that one over there. And I mean, there's different functions within that, right?
Yeah.
And they all kind of drive each other here. But when you go to events like this, what are some of the things that you're like, that's pretty cool over there? I like what they're doing from a high level thematic perspective.
Yeah. Adam, I've spent the last year coming to a variety of different HR conferences. I know you've been at many of them, engaging with folks. And what I would say, 2 or 3 things that I've seen that are very exciting. One is people understanding the fact that investing in a tool of technology, AI, right, in and of itself is not going to solve the problem, right? Whether it's for the enterprise at large or for a specific function like talent or benefits. And one of the themes that we explored in this year's Trends Report is called Wide Tech, right? How do you actually invest in the technology to drive a business outcome in the right way? And so what I've seen very powerfully is leaders knowing that just turning the technology on is not going to solve. So they're focused on how do I do the job design differently? How do I do the role design? How do I help my people understand as the tasks that you do are impacted by things like AI? This is what it means for your career opportunity to grow. I think the second thing that I've been really excited to actually see some of the narrative change around is a real focus on entry-level roles and early career talent, because early, I think, in the AI, artificial intelligence narrative over the last 2 years is, and something we dig into our trends report around this experience gap, companies are saying, hey, this entry-level role needs 2 to 5 years experience.
Does it?
Well, does it,
Does
right?
it?
And how are you going to get those 2 to 5 years experience for an entry-level role? So as we then really unpack that...
How am I going to get this job without getting the initial experience?
Yeah, exactly. So I've been really excited to see and hear people doubling down on, no, we need new and different ways to get early career talent into the organization, because if you don't make that investment now, then a few years from now, you're missing out on a pipeline of your next generation leaders.
I mean, that's like the old thing you see over LinkedIn and everything too. It says like 2 to 3 years experience for an entry-level job. You're like, well, how am I supposed to get the experience if you're not, you're not gonna give it to me there?
Yep.
And it kind of leads to the next point where I wanted to get into is skill-based hiring. For anyone out there who's not following along, how do we define skill-based hiring, and shouldn't everything be skill-based hiring? Like in theory, like shouldn't that we're hiring based on skill? What does it mean?
Yeah. So skills-based hiring today means understanding here's a role, and that role does a set of activities, and these are the skills needed to do those activities, right? And that's where the broad AI conversation has really gotten to, is you actually have to understand, if I implement this AI solution, what are the tasks that it impacts? Based on those task impacts, what does that mean to the skills needed to do the work, right? Because I might not need to use these skills anymore, therefore I might need these skills, right? So as you think about skills-based hiring and our trend around this experience gap, one of the things that we are doubling down on is that organizations need to reevaluate hiring criteria.
Yes.
Right? Does a year or 2 or 3 years of experience actually matter?
Do you really need that skill?
Or I've had this skill or this capability, or I've done this type of activity, and therefore if I come in, what then is the developmental program that an organization is investing in that can help me continue to evolve those skills and apply them to the context of the organization itself?
Well, like, right. Does that candidate have the aptitude and attitude to do what you're looking for versus such a binary evaluation of it's not exactly this, they can't do it, right?
Right.
Like you can't have it. And I think, keep me straight here, I mean, you're looking at it from the advisory high level standpoint. I mean, you look at organizations of all different sizes. Some companies aren't equipped for that because of the current market. They're not resourced, they're not staffed. And to be frank, the recruiters in the hiring team, they're just not trained to be skill-based evaluators.
I would say, Adam, this is something where I've spoken to a number of CHROs, and this is the broad narrative in the market around, is HR strategic? Does HR have a seat at the table? In many companies it does, because there has been budget and funding to the function, right? In other companies, the investments have been made elsewhere, right? And so if you think about where do organizations go now, having the right workforce to deliver on your business outcomes, that's a business imperative. Number one topic for the C-suite and board of directors, human capital, right?
I mean, that's
where am I getting the talent from? How am I developing it? This is a business thing.
And it's also a competitive standpoint.
Absolutely.
I mean, let's take a classic example, Coke and Pepsi, or we can even think during the talent wars, 10 years ago, where literally companies like Facebook were hiring people so other companies couldn't get them, and these people were doing nothing. Imagine you got that lucky. God, son of a bitch. Hey, Adam, we're going to give you a lot of money, and then you're going to do absolutely nothing. I mean, we're far away from that now, but that was real. But not every company has that resource or the ability to do that. I mean, it puts us in. It's a different time. It's a different market.
Hey everyone, we'll jump right back into the conversation, but first, let's talk about a game changer in hiring, Greenhouse. Greenhouse is the leading hiring platform that helps companies get measurably better at hiring. Because when it comes to building great teams, every hire should be the right hire. With Greenhouse, you don't just fill roles, you transform your hiring with a structured process that ensures fairness, removes bias, and enables data-driven decisions. AI-powered workflows in Greenhouse streamline every step from sourcing top talent to personalizing the candidate experience, allowing recruiters to focus on strategic, high-impact hiring that drives real business outcomes. The result? A faster, more efficient process that turns talent into a true competitive advantage. Over 7,500 companies, including HubSpot, Duolingo, Gong, JD Power, and Scout24, trust Greenhouse to optimize their hiring process and take candidates from talented prospects to top performers. And it's not just the best hiring platform, it's also a great place to work. Greenhouse has been recognized by Fortune, Inc. magazine, Glassdoor, Forbes, and more as a top workplace. Want to hire better, faster, and more fairly? Visit greenhouse.com today and get ready to hire for what's next. All right, back to the show.
How are companies doing more with less? Because right now it's a volume problem. Right now we have so many good folks out of work, generally speaking, when we're looking from a broad stroke.
Sure.
So much good talent out there. You know who's suffering? It's those B and C level players.
Sure.
They're gonna be out of work a long time. What are you seeing? What are you feeling? What are you hearing?
Yeah, I think, Adam, this gets into the combination of this experience gap challenge and where we actually have seen and explored this trend for organizations into revisiting the employer value proposition and really bringing an AI first employer value proposition forward. What does that mean? That means actually explicitly saying, hey, for candidates, why you should come here is because we're going to help you understand how to use AI to do work differently. And for our employees who are here now, we're going to help you as AI impacts certain tasks, as the skills that are needed to do your role are change and evolve, what that means for us to deploy you into new and different career paths, right? And so for organizations, you look down the line, what's going to be that most important is the increasing competition for talent in the door.
Right.
And winning through the ability to take talent who knows your business, knows your culture, knows how to get work done within your organization, keeping those folks and redeploying them in new and different ways than organizations are potentially doing today.
Does purpose really matter anymore for candidates, or are we at a place right now where this is generally transactional and people need to put food on the table?
I think that purpose will always matter for candidates. And I think as we, from a Deloitte perspective, in our 2024 trends report, our 2025 trends report, in our Gen Z and Millennial survey that'll come out in May, you always see that purpose is something that people really care about.
Generational agnostic.
Generational agnostic, right?
It still
Yes,
matters. The work matters.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's such an interesting point too, and you kind of see that funny meme out there, like where it's either, why do you want to work for the company? And I think the response is like, because I need to eat, right? Like you need to do those things. And I find it interesting because as an agency recruiter myself, I really understand, because if you're a company, you want somebody who's going to want to work for your company. Now, I'm not telling you to drink the Kool-Aid. If I'm the founder, you're never going to have as much passion as me, but I do want you to have a genuine interest in what I'm doing here. And it's always a tricky slope, because there's some cases right now where the candidates are like, I could do that job, kind of get what you're doing there, but why do I have to drink all that Kool-Aid? How do you stay in touch? Because you're macro trends. How do you stay in touch with the practitioners? How do you stay in touch with what's happening in the trenches with folks like myself that are on the front lines?
Yeah. So
The real shit that we see, man.
Yeah.
It's a dark and dirty place, my friend. I don't wish that upon anybody. You can't unsee what I've seen.
Yeah. So Adam, I'll say there's me personally, and then Deloitte broadly, right? So I personally, right, I spend a majority of my time with CHROs, with HR leaders, where I am leading teams that are helping solve business problems, right? So the role that I'm in is not just a fly high macro trends, stay above the fray, right? So my mix that I bring to any conversation is, here's what I'm working with clients today on business problems. And here's where I have the opportunity to engage with research, to engage with voices out in the market who are studying some of the macro trends and kind of bring those two together, right? And for the way in which Deloitte does our 2025 Human Capital Trends Report or any of our research, it's all grounded in stories of who is doing what today, right? It is not a theoretical application of a trend. It is, here's something that we're seeing. Here's the business challenge tied to that situation. And here are stories to bring it to life for what organizations are actually doing to tackle that today.
Interesting. I mean, I'd be remiss if we didn't talk about AI, and there's a good and bad and the ugly out there. And let's tap into the trends reports that are either recently out or some of the stuff that you're working on. Is there a trend that's right in front of our damn face, good, bad, or ugly, that we're just missing or we have blinders on? Is it moving us too fast or taking us away from something? Give us some alpha, man.
Yeah. I Adam, in the last year, have been really digging into a demographic trend that I think is going to become that much more important over the years ahead. It'll build on this experience gap. It'll build on redefining the role of the manager. It'll build on some of these things. And that is the workforce at large, 10, 15 years, is going to continue to shrink in many geographies because the baby boomers, 4 years out from hitting retirement age, successive generations, generally smaller, and there will be a point where there are just fewer humans in the workforce. that will just be a mathematical fact, right? And so what are those things that we should begin to do now to embrace new and different ways that allow the humans who are in the workforce to have that much more of an outsized impact, right? Like that's a very different thing to be solving for relative to, have I found the right use case for this AI application in the finance function today?
I feel that we need to continue this conversation on a much deeper level. I definitely want to have you back on either my show or the HR Morning Show, because I think there's a lot to unpack here. And I want to do it systematically. I want to talk micro and macro trends.
Yep.
When's the next report coming out?
The full report comes out on Monday. We've started Human Capital Trends Week now. We're starting to begin some videos and infographics out to start teasing some folks with some of that information. But the full report will be available for folks to dig into on Monday.
Let's give some optimism out there for the job market. I know it's bleak and grim. It's really tough out there for job seekers, but is there some light? Is there going to be a change? Is hiring going to open up? Are there going to be jobs? We all had this hope that whatever you voted for, listen, this guy Trump is in there now. He's going to stimulate the economy. Like, what are you saying?
Yeah, I've read data that actually says there are more than enough jobs in the world for all of the people who are here today.
But the people don't want to do those jobs.
One of the challenges is the mismatch, right?
Yeah, they don't want to do those jobs.
But so some of that, you look at certain parts of the world who are phenomenal at branding trades and vocational, right? Mm-hmm. There are other parts of the world that need to start to rebrand some of that. Yesterday, I was on a panel here at Transform around adapting to a Gen Z-led future. And someone put out the challenge statement of, how do we help kids of college-educated parents celebrate becoming an electrician? Because that could be a six-figure job,
exactly.
Right? So some of that is, how do we expose new sources of jobs to the talent to close that mismatch?
Awesome. We have so much to talk about. Maybe we'll do it over poker next time. Leave us with one word of intention. First of all, congratulations on the new role here.
Thank you.
Give us a word of intention for yourself in this new role.
A word of intention for myself? What do I want to manifest for myself? Collaboration.
That's a good one out there.
Yep.
Kyle, thank you so much for joining me. Where can folks find you? Where can they connect? Where can they learn more?
Yep. Feel free to reach out on LinkedIn. You can find me in the greater Los Angeles area. But I
playing
also
soccer with them or repping soccer?
I'm broadly. You can also find me around some of the event circuit throughout the year where I'm here representing Deloitte and engaging with other voices in the market.
Well, we want to thank our friends over at Deloitte. This has been really cool. I want to keep this conversation going. I want to get deeper. I want to be, when we're less distracted by all the noise around us here, and really focus in on some of these trends where we could take maybe a couple of trends and really extrapolate it.
Awesome.
And get into the reasons why behind them. Kyle, Forrest, thank you so much for joining us here. Safe travels back to LA.
Thank you. Take care, everyone.
Awesome. And this has been Transform, and thank you to our friends over at Greenhouse for having us here. This has been a wrap. Transform 2025 podcast out.
Wisdom is forever, but for us, it's time to go. Thank you for joining us. Luckily, we'll be back with our next episode soon, jam-packed with more incredible humans. Thank you for listening, subscribing, and sharing. To join the conversation, search the podcast on LinkedIn. And to catch up on past episodes and more info, please visit www.thepodcast.com.